Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Empowering Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm Glenn Harper.
Julie Smith.
What's going on, Julie?
Well, it's Swarm out, but it's going to be short-lived, right?
We're up and down, up and down, up and down. The 12th false spring in Ohio.
We usually have all four seasons in one day.
Yes, we did. It did, but it's all good. We're in the middle of tax season. Still talking to all of our entrepreneurs around the country, around the world, having a good time. So we got a good one for us today. I'd like to introduce a fellow entrepreneur, Nick Avera, founder of Agency Acquisitions. Sounds like he helps people like me with face for radio get noticed by our friends up in Canada. Co-founder of Fisher Tribe, principal at Averia, code name for venture capital matchmaking, and CEO of Embolden LLC. Nick is the guy you call when you want to scale your company to exit. His expertise is that in that pivotal time of one's business is crucial. Do it wrong, or more importantly, not doing it right, can cost you millions. Nick has this weird philosophy that if you make more profit, you can invest more in your business, specifically staff and their training to ensure continuity and staff retention. Crazy ideas. I can't wait to delve into these topics. He started off as an entrepreneur, then made the jump back to corporate, then back to being an entrepreneur. I can't wait to how miserable he was going back and forth between the two pillars of business. If you're burnout, or you should have called Nick. If you're not burnout, but fading fast, perhaps this podcast will inspire you to make the call to Nick. Thanks, Nick, for being on our show.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
Wait, what grade did you get him for pronouncing your name?
He gets like a solid 7.5 to 8.
That's
it wasn't
awesome.
too bad.
He's passing.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. That's good. That's good.
He's on the right side of the equation, that's for sure.
All right. Well, appreciate you joining us. I think it's dark where you're at still, right? It's your early morning.
Yeah, it's
far west.
7 a.m. The only other people working is the construction crew outside building.
Of course they are.
There you go.
Of course they're up early. The construction. Well, we like to get a little bit of searching on the internet and find out some obscure facts, and it says that you grew up on Orcas Island, just outside of Seattle there, and then snuck into Vancouver, Canada as a young lad. Is there any truth to that?
No. So
okay.
I was actually born in Vancouver, Canada, and then I made my way to Chile, where my mother's side of the family is at, and then I came back, when I was 12ish or so.
How about that? Well, the crazy thing is, so when so you were in Chile for how old were you there when you were there? From
when I was around 4 or 5 years old, all the way to 10, 12, around that area. Although I traveled back and forth quite a bit, even during those times.
Did you have family in Vancouver as well? Is that how you started there, or how'd that?
Yeah. So funny story. My mother met my father while on a trip. It was her graduation trip after university. She was gifted a trip by her parents, and so they got married and stayed here for a while, and she moved back and forth at that point.
So usually you gotta go where the wife wants to go. So we started off in Vancouver, then we went back to Chile, then back. What was it, a business opportunity or better family situation, or what was the impetus to coming back?
Yeah, I think that for her, it was more of one of these things around seeking independence. My mother's a very independent person. My family is quite established there. So, and the opportunity in Chile in those days wasn't what it was today. It was a very different time. She came over here, and the rest is history, as they say.
Gotcha. Well, curious, what'd your dad do for a living?
He was actually a university professor.
No kidding. And what'd your mom do?
She was a veterinarian.
Interesting. So a veterinarian down in Chile. So then when you went down there back, she was practicing, I assume. And then your dad was probably teaching down there somewhere as well?
He stayed actually in Vancouver the whole time. So
wow.
It was us more so moving back and forth and whatever else have you. One of these situations where things didn't work out between them, but it is what it is.
Right. Yeah, it happens. So you just had to go so what, about a 2.5, 3 hour flight, I'm guessing? I'm totally kidding.
No, it's
that's a day trip.
Even if you can manage a direct flight, which actually existed back then, it was probably around 18 hours or so.
Wow.
So it's a distance for sure.
So at that age, when you were flying back and forth, did you go with your siblings, or did you just do it yourself, or how'd you do that?
Yeah, just with my mother. Like my mother would
Okay.
generally just, go back and forth. And when I was older, closing in on like a 10, 11, like I could do it by myself. Like, like stewardesses are great. They walk you through. It's pretty safe. And yeah, like that was kind of how I went back and forth. And usually, trying to, I mean, even today, like I still go back to Chile. I was in there from like middle of December to middle of January, about a month. I avoid a month of winter, which is always like a nice thing to do. So 1 year we usually stay for Christmas and the holidays and New Year's, and then we go for a month, and then sometimes we, cut out early and go mid-December.
So how many siblings do you have, if any?
None, actually. So like I do have I should say I had four half brothers and sisters. So three half brothers, one half sister. Two of them unfortunately have passed away in the not so recent past. They were much older than me. So like I am the youngest half sibling by like a decent margin. Like my oldest half brother is closing in on 60 now.
Wow. So you had a very interesting childhood, to say the least. So, was your mom had her own vet clinic, or did she work for a big company?
She worked for another vet clinic. And during her very early career, she actually did quite a bit of research. So like veterinarians actually do like a lot of DNA research. And so she was doing that very early career. And then she transitioned into actual practice afterwards.
Was she a large animal or small animal?
She actually got trained on both, believe it or not, but she primarily did small animals. So like, family pets, things of that nature.
So growing up, obviously you kind of bounced around, but did you play sports or what did you enjoy?
Yeah. So I mean, the funny thing is that sports, in Chile and here, like vastly different. Like there, I played like a lot of rugby and soccer and whatever else have you. When I was in North America, it was basketball. So like, in Canada, they don't have a lot of football, or at least at that time they did not have it. But basketball was sort of like, it was either you're playing basketball or you're playing hockey. And I was not a morning kid. So, practice
Hockey's
at 4 a.m. Like sometimes it's like you get rink time at 4 a.m. and you got to be there. And I was like, nope, this is not for me.
What about lacrosse? I thought lacrosse is like a big sport in Canada as well.
It actually is a big sport. But I only played that up until maybe like grade 7 or so. And then once I went to grade 8, kind of like, middle school, halfway through, I just dropped it. It was just one of those things. I played water polo for a while as well, which is an interesting sport. So, I mean, I played a lot of sports when I was a kid, like looking back.
I was always fascinated how you ride the horses in water polo. That seemed like it was really hard to do. I'm messing with it. No, that has got to be one of the hardest sports to swim like that the whole time. And that's got to be, I mean, you burn thousands and thousands of calories, I would think, in a session.
Yeah, and they make you practice just plain swimming too, right? So they're like, hey, it's like either you're practicing with like an actual like team and you're in the water, like, with throwing the ball around, or they're like, go swim laps for the next like 2 hours. You're like, okay, this is great.
I feel like you made a good Navy SEAL with all that practice in the water.
Maybe. We'll never know.
So, were you, do you assume you have dual citizenship then with Chile and Canada?
I do, yeah. So citizenship in Chile is granted. If your mother is Chilean, you automatically get citizenship there as well. It's like similar to like the Italian passport as well that way.
So if your father is Chilean, you don't automatically get it on your mother?
No.
How about that?
That's interesting.
Learn something new every day.
There you go.
So I just have a few more questions because what an interesting childhood.
Yes.
What is something our listeners, just out of curiosity, like a childhood in Chile versus a childhood in Vancouver? What are some of the differences that you experienced and or had to like pivot hard going back and forth?
My mother did a very good job training my Spanish and English at the same time. So one thing that she did was that she wouldn't tell me if she was speaking in English or Spanish. So if people just looked at me funny, I just knew to switch, right? It wasn't until I was like much older where she's like, here's the difference between them, right? Because like, young children, it's like, I'm going to speak the opposite because, I'm just going to be contrarian. So because of that, the language thing wasn't really tough. In Chile, I went to like a private school that was like English, like as a first language, meaning like the second you walked through the door, you're expected to speaking English the whole time. Like even like at recess, like the monitors were like, why are you speaking Spanish? Like stop speaking Spanish. So it was kind of like an immersion school. There was like a lot of sons of like diplomats and like, foreign business people that were just there so that everybody just spoke English the whole time. I would say that because my family is quite well off in Chile, the people would think like, hey, there's going to be like oh, wow, like, coming to North America, it's so much better. But the reality was kind of the opposite, right? Because if you're in the like fraction of the 1% in, a country like Chile at that time versus, being average-ish in North America at that time, like you were worse off, right? So it was like a little bit of a shock. Like, I was used to like we had like a full-time chef. We used to, in, Chile, we had live-in maids. We had like all of these things and resources. And when we came, to North America, it was like, we have nothing. Like
you're just slumming it. Yes.
Like what do you mean? Like, my clothes aren't laid out for me first thing in the morning, et cetera, et cetera. So there you go.
Were you a rebel then because you're like, well, this is BS, man. I want the easiest life. Or how did your dad handle that?
I think that when you're that age, you're like pretty adaptable, right? So like you kind of, figure it out pretty quick.
I felt like you should have a more of a, Canadian accent. It sounds very English. How did you maintain that?
I think that the coast is a bit different in Canada. If you go more so to the center, then that's where you get like that prototypical like Canadian accent, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, he was really looking.
You'll catch him. He was really looking. Kind of talk.
He was really looking forward to that Canadian accent. In fact, on our walk into the podcast, he's like, "I'm excited for his accent." So,
because it's always I'm fascinated with in different, just in the U.S. where people accents where they're at, and just it's always fun to hear how people, it's just different. It's not better nor worse. It's just different. It's fun to hear that kind of thing.
Well, I think that like even like the U.S., right? Like European people are always so surprised. They're like, oh, like people in America that have never traveled abroad. I'm like, what do you mean? Like if you travel like America, that's like traveling like,
everywhere,
10 different countries in one country, right? Like depending on where you go, like different cultures, different dialects, like all these other things. It's super cool, right? And so, it's like when you compare, it's like, oh, how do you not travel like out of country? It's like, why would you? Like everything's in one country. What else do you need?
Exactly. Do you feel like one of the things as a kid doing what you were kind of is just the way your life was, right? Do you feel that the sports created broke things down a little bit to smaller groups where you could fit in a little bit more and you kind of knew what you had to do? And obviously you must have been an above average athlete to be able to play all these sports. Did that make the transition back and forth and fitting in a little bit easier, you think?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think that my friend group was just always into sports. So I was into sports. So it's one of these things where you're going to get picked for the team if you and your friends are like out there practicing, even when you don't have to practice. Right. So like, it's like if you're playing basketball, before and after practice, because you like it that much, you're just going to kind of stay on the team. That's all that's really going to happen. So I probably, yeah. I mean, to some degree. For sure. And I think that, even like on the entrepreneurial journey, like playing sports, I think has been pivotal. Like, like coaches were a bit different back then, right? Like they got in your face and they yelled. And I think that built a lot of character, frankly, which, I mean, I actually talked to my high school basketball coach a number of years back. And I'm like, how is it now? He's like, you can't raise your voice anymore. He's like, it's very, very
sounds
different.
Terrible. I mean, kids need yelling at.
You better bring a medal.
Chairs. So like,
that's
there
my
you
kind
go.
Of coach. Yeah. The threat of violence always motivates people, I swear. For sure.
I mean, a little bit.
Yes.
So you graduate high school in Vancouver, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And so then where does life take you next?
I got this. I want to ask a question about this. All right. So I think you decide it's Fraser Valley, the University of Fraser Valley.
Yeah.
In Vancouver, but it just only got founded in 1974. And there's only 16,000 students. How did you pick that?
Yeah, so I mean, like, this is like an interesting like government tidbit. So at some point, the Canadian government figured out via like, brilliant economics that people that went to university made more money. So their response was to create more universities, right? Which is like, great. Yeah, you make more money because you have a degree, because it's rare. So they made a rare thing not rare anymore because everybody could get in. Mm-hmm. So because they made that many universities. So it was primarily just because it was close to home. Like, I'm not even gonna like university culture in Canada for any Americans listening. It's like it's not like America. I'm gonna tell you now. Like, people don't really party as hard. People go to school and they kind of go home. A lot of people live in close proximity. There isn't that, depending on the university, most of them do not have that much housing at the university. Wow. And so it's very, very different. Whereas like colleges and universities in the States, like, it could be like a town. It's like, that's not how it works here. They're smaller in scale. So I just drove back and forth from home about 30 minutes to this thing. I was in and out, to be honest, like for a while, because at the time, and I don't know if you found this tidbit or not, I was actually a full-time DJ at nightclubs and weddings while I put myself through school. And at one point, the DJ business got so big and I was earning so much that I looked at what I was going to graduate into like the workforce. And I realized that I was going to take like a 50% pay cut. And I was like, why am I doing this? That was until 2008 rolled around and the financial crisis just like hit everything. So what's the first thing that goes? It's like, well, expensive weddings go out the door. Mm-hmm. Going to nightclubs goes out the door. All of a sudden the market's really bad. And I'm like, okay, this is when I'm going to finish university now, because I had about a year and a half left.
Wow. So, and what did you decide that it's a bachelor in business administration. So did you like a major in something, or is it just general business?
Yeah, it was business with like a focus on operations. I also had like a minor in psychology because I had just taken it prior. So the first 2 years of that. And then, then I kind of got handpicked by one of my professors. He sent out one student that was about to graduate. So our graduating classes in business were reasonably large, like around like 200-300 people just for like the business school. And actually it was more than that at our year. It was one of the bigger years. It was like maybe 4 or 5. And so he picked me and he sent me to like his buddy that was like the CEO of an industrial services firm that was like local to the area. And it was a company that was doing a little bit over 100 million. And I ended up working for the vice president of sales and marketing on basically new product launches. And we were basically acquiring products through mergers and acquisitions. And we were also just like looking at things that we could produce based off of our capabilities. Cause like we produced like a whole bunch of like things like concrete barriers and like big like concrete applications. But we were primarily like an industrial services company, like putting up like wind farms, right? And so like lots of cranes, like industrial moving, things like that.
So out of 400 students, what did you do that stood out so much to your professor that they're like, you're the chosen one?
He brought his DJ equipment to class. He was the loudest one there.
Could have been.
I just threw like a really good party like inside of the classroom.
That's all it takes. See? That's the key to success right there. Throw a banger and everybody shows up.
Yeah. I don't know, like, to be frank, I had very good grades because I had really poor grades in my first couple of years. Mm-hmm. And I remember a different professor basically said, like, look, if you want a master's degree at some point, you're going to need like this grade point average. And I did the math and I was like, great, I got to get around like 1A for every A plus. I can only get 1A minus. I have to average an A from here on out. And so from that point on, for my last like year and a half kind of area, I ended up with around like 2 or 3 A pluses for every A that I got. And so I think that was enough to kind of like turn some heads among like some of the faculty at that point. And so I was like pretty dedicated because I mean, we're kind of in the middle of, 2009. There wasn't much to do. Like the job market was terrible. And, it was like, I'm in here full time now, right? Like doing all I can to graduate with like a top grade because I knew that the professors all had connections and a lot of people could get jobs through those connections. So making a good impression, like I was showing up to work and trying to make a good impression on the teachers.
Well, that makes sense. With all your prior history and background, it seems like you probably stood ahead of everybody. Plus, your communication skills had to be outrageous at that time because bilingual, going back and forth, the sports, the DJ, you could talk to anybody probably.
At that point, yeah. So, I mean, it was one of these things where, it's like, even if I didn't need the office hours, I was in the office hours, right? It was just to understand the way that they thought about things or get their opinion on something. And, when people kind of take that extra step, it's not normal. And like, it's funny because in the world of entrepreneurship, we talk a lot about, the first step is just show up and how few people actually just show up. It's not that many people.
No, I would say your work ethic in regards to that is unfortunately abnormal. So I have a question. So you're going through university, you've been in Vancouver. Does it ever cross your mind to go back to Chile?
I think that, it's like a really nice emerging economy. And since I've been back, it's like you can see the opportunity there. Like the income mobility is amazing there. Like if it wasn't a state where it is today, maybe 18 years ago, like I would definitely consider it. But there wasn't as much opportunity as there was back then. Like there just wasn't that kind of opportunity in those days. I also think that I just kind of grew accustomed to like North America in general. Like it's just one of these things where you're like, yeah, this is home.
You got accustomed to doing your own laundry and picking out your own outfits?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Although we don't do that anymore either. No. Business has been going well. Good. So I reverted back. The chef isn't full time, but it's twice a week, and we have a cleaner, we have a bit of a house manager, and so I've kind of gone back to some of those things. But that's just in an effort to buy back my time because I just want to spend more time with my daughter and whatever else have you.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's like there's certain tasks you like to do and it relaxes, you want to do it. And other ones you're like, well, that doesn't help me at all. So, hire somebody that wants to do that. Maybe they're going through their journey and you're helping people out.
Well, I think you said something key that we kind of just glazed over. It's buy back your time. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs starting off, we forget about that very scarce resource and we think we can do it all, but it's really hard to be the master of all. We're usually just good at some. Well, but yeah, I think that's a good key takeaway.
Yeah, not even at home, but also at the office. The entrepreneur is the curse, right? We have to do everything because nobody can do it as good as we can. And so, So one thing when you we're going to figure out what was this defining factor, the 2x4 across the face where it said you're working for somebody and you're learning it. It was a great opportunity and you bounce around a couple different places and then you're just like, you know what? I got to hang my own shingle and do my thing. What was that defining moment that you're like, that's it. I can't take it anymore. I got to do my own thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it was always in the cards from like the very beginning. I just knew that I had to learn more, right? It was one of these things where I just was like, if I can watch this in action in a larger business, it's free learning. They're going to pay me to learn. And like, that's the way that I approached it. I will say that this idea of buying back my time, even during like corporate life, was a permanent staple. Like and back then I wasn't making a lot, like at all. I would literally buy back my time to like get, people to do like my household chores and like things like this. So that like laundry, like I paid a laundry service when I wasn't making a lot. Like, I mean, if you thought about it, it's like, hey, Nick, you get paid less than the time that you save. Like the amount you get paid per hour is less than like what you're paying for this thing. Like you would technically make money by doing this activity. But I basically started buying back my time that early on in my career because I was either studying, and like my thought process out of after graduating university was this. I said, like I saw some stats somewhere that said somewhere between 50 to 70% of people will not read one more book after they graduate school.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, what if I read to the degree that I was reading in university as I moved through my career? And that's actually exactly what I did for about the first like 15 years or so after graduation, actually all the way up until now. Only the last couple, 2-3 years I've slowed down because of my daughter. But before that, I was reading anywhere between 40 to 70 books a year. Wow. And, it's like the age old adage, like leaders are readers. Once you read enough, it kind of compounds, right? Like there's like this idea behind compound learning where, if you read one book, great. But if that same book is the 12th book you read, you're going to get more out of it just because you have the baseline of all the other knowledge that you have. Like you have more connection points to make out of it, right? And so I just kind of proceeded under that, and knowing that I was going to work wherever I was going to work and I was going to do a good job, because then I was going to get opportunities to do more and more difficult work. And that was basically what I did. I figured out how to do my entire job, my like 40-hour-a-week job. I figured out how to do it in about 5 to 8 hours a day, or like 5 to 8 hours per week. Sorry. And so then I had, basically 4 other days to take on special projects. So I would go to the VP of sales marketing. I would go to the CFO. I would go to the COO, right? Which by that point had heard of me. And they were like, look, you can just give this kid projects and he'll just like run with them, and he'll do them at like 80 to 90% quality than if we paid like a consultant, 20 times the salary. Right. So I just started getting like projects for everybody. And like, that was like the learning opportunity, really. So I stuck around for quite a while. It wasn't actually that long. It was about 2 years, but I basically stuck around doing that about a year and a half of just special projects, like M&As, like negotiating with people. We were like cutting big checks, and then, transitioned over and just said, hey, like, I think it's time to go try this out on my own again.
Your fellow employees that you worked with, coworkers, not your above you, but your fellow, they probably hated you. You're making them look so bad. They're doing a 40-hour work week in one day. They're like, you're making us look terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it was rough. And like, I mean, at some point there was like, some maternity leaves, and I was like, I'll just do their entire job, like off the side of my desk. And, like it was not, some people were really happy. Some people were not so happy about it. I made a lot of people's lives easier. I'll put it to you that way.
Do you blame it on nicotine and caffeine, or just you just had a skill set? How you took everybody thinks job over?
Yeah, my brain is just like, I think that the best people, the best entrepreneurs are a little bit lazy, but lazy intelligently, where you're like, look, these 40 hours, like, do I really got to spend these, or is there a shortcut? And so your brain just starts looking for like, how can I do this faster? Is this really necessary to accomplishing the task? And so you start kind of rewriting standard operating procedures in real time. And generally, if you have a reasonable boss, they're like, well, you're not violating any protocols. You're getting to the end point. Yeah, you're doing it differently from standard, but it's more efficient. So like, let's do it your way. Right. And
I think that goes to like
how I figured it out.
Quality over quantity, right? Which is a hard concept for some non-entrepreneurs, right? So if you give an employee 40 hours to do XYZ, it'll take 40 hours. For sure. If I give someone like you, you're like, I'm done in 2 hours.
Yeah, but some entrepreneurs, the same thing though. If I've allocated 8 hours for this task, I'm going to probably do it in 8 hours, unless I can change that mindset to say, I don't want to spend 8 hours on that. I want to spend 1, and then you'll figure it out, right? Which is kind of what you meant.
This is the exact reason I love time boxing my calendar. as an entrepreneur. Like, I don't need to be beholden to my calendar unless I choose to be, and I do definitely choose to be. Basically, the whole premise of it is that, can I take something that I think is going to take me, 5, 6, 7 hours, and then say, like, look, I'm going to assign myself 2 to 3 hours to be able to pull this off, right?
Okay.
And if I can do it, like, if I succeed, good for me. Like, I've now successfully gotten time back. And if I fail, well, how much did I fail by? Did I get 80% of the work done, 70% of the work done in 2 hours, even if I thought it was going to take me 7 or 8? So that's generally how I manage things, even to today. The other thing is that even very early on in my career, I looked at a lot of these things from the standpoint of, I only want to do things once. I want to do the hard thing once, and I want to either standardize it, automate it, or be able to hand it off to somebody else. Obviously, in those days, I couldn't hand it off. These days, I definitely do hand things off. But I'm a big fan of figuring things out and then basically teaching people how to do it very, very quickly through some sort of standardized process.
I'm trying to figure out if you enjoy doing the task more versus doing the task more efficient.
I enjoy doing the task more efficient.
I knew it.
Sure. But I don't want to do it more than once. Like, I get really bored with repetition.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's where that system and process comes in place, so that you don't have to do it more than once, right? So that you can pass it along and give it to somebody else. I want to go back to something you said, I don't know how many minutes ago, because I think it's important. You talk about reading, and you talk about how that helped put you ahead. I think if I could unbox that to the root of your reading, you have an immense amount of curiosity, and your curiosity, makes you seek out more and more knowledge. I think in today's world, we're doing a podcast now. There's so many ways in which we can take in that information for curiosity. Can you talk about, and again, I know your time is different these days in regards to how you're allocating it, but how are you still seeking out some of that knowledge to suffice that? Because that curiosity didn't go away. I know that. How are you doing that, but maybe in a little bit more efficient way these days than reading?
I think that, I still do read, especially not read, but I do audiobooks. So if I'm going for a walk, or, I have downtime, I pop on an audiobook, or on a flight.
Is that 4x speed listening to it? I know you're kind.
Yeah,
yes.
I do that too.
I knew it too.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, the technique for that is that you crank it up to 2.5, where you can barely understand, and then you put it down to 2, and you're like, oh, this is slower.
Train your brain.
That's the trick behind it. Or if you want to listen to 2.5, you go to 3.5, and then you tune it down to 2.5.
Genius.
But 2's sort of my sweet spot. And I think that really the methodology behind reading for me was really simple. There was somebody that wrote a book because it was their life's work, and they said, this is valuable. And so they put it on a piece of paper. Right. And why wouldn't I read this? I can go out and try to accumulate this experience on my own, or I can take on other people's experiences and prevent the challenges that they had in the first place by trying to deeply understand them. And so this is not just how I approach books, but this is how I approach people. So, when I was working with people more senior than myself, people that are better at what I do, all I'm trying to figure out is okay, how can I learn from these people's mistakes and from their successes, so that I can prevent errors from happening in the future? Because I think that people don't quite understand how slow it is to learn through experience.
It's exhausting.
Exactly. It's exhausting. It takes so much time. A setback can set you back in the world of entrepreneurship a year, 2 years, right? Small setbacks can set you back 2 to 3 months. Well, if you do that, 4 or 5 times a year, you've effectively not accomplished much.
No, neutral. So how many staff do you have now in your company? Do you have quite a bit of them? Or
Yeah, I
is it just
mean,
you?
across time, we've had quite a bit, and I'm not gonna mince my words here. We have shrunk our headcount pretty significantly in, I would say, the last 3 to 4 years.
Mhm.
However, revenues are up.
Mhm.
And it is because in my line of business, AI has done a lot. Um, Within my marketing agencies, for example, we like we have some people that one person does the job of what used to be four people,
Right. Mm-hmm.
right? So like we're seeing 80% efficiency gains with certain individuals in terms of like volume of work at the same or better quality. So for us, like we didn't go around laying people off, but as people left organically for other opportunities and whatever else have you, we just didn't backfill them.
Mm-hmm.
And we continue to kind of grow at a slower pace. I think before I was hunting hundreds of percentages of growth. Now it's more like, hey, can I just grow at like 10 to 20%? Like that sounds like a really nice number. But I think that in the world that we're moving into, like this is going to become kind of increasingly an issue that happens, right? And it's funny to like we talk about organizational charts, and you're like, it looks kind of like a pyramid, right? Like skinny at the top, wide at the bottom. And our org chart is really starting to look more like
Inverted.
a diamond.
Yep.
Right? Like it really is, right? And it's sort of like skinny at top, skinny at the bottom, wider in the middle, and you're like, it kind of is what it is.
It's kind of funny because you were effectively doing that at your old employer way back in the day. You were taking everybody's job, and you saw it then, and now AI and all the cool stuff and automation, like you're living it.
I'm like a healthy skeptic of this stuff. I would say that I believe in it, and I believe what I see. I don't believe what other people tell me it can do. Like if you go online, I tell people this all the time that are kind of in this like AI rabbit hole of like if the social algorithm finds you and you start seeing like AI content, it's just going to keep giving it to you because you're watching it. AI is like the perfect balance of fear, hope, and greed all in like one, right? It's like you're fearful of it, you're also hopeful because of it, and a little bit greedy too because you're like, how can I use this to make more money, right?
Give me more. Yep.
And like when you got those three things going in one type of content, like it's going to be engaging in some way, shape, or form, and like this need to like feel like I need to consume this in order to understand what's going on. The problem, I think, with AI right now and where we are today, like 2026 March kind of thing, is that the people that are making the real money with AI, like online at least, are the people that aren't doing it. Like they're not mining for the gold, like AKA like using it to actually like do something productive. They're the people selling the shovels. And so what they tell you that it does right now versus what it actually does are two very different things, right? It's like, oh, we can automate absolutely everything, like blah, 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 whatever. And you're like, yeah, you can. It's just not good work output, nothing that a client would accept. So this is where our methodology is more like humans must check all the work. It cannot go out without like human intervention. And so like not just human check at the end of the process, but it's like various steps within the process of delivering something. AI has to basically check in with its like human counterpart. But it's really like the symbiosis now of working together with it. And like we're still figuring it out. I don't think that anybody's fully figured it out yet. But I'm very curious as to like its applications, and like what I'm primarily working on is not so much how do you develop, like how do you do more writing or creative work or research, which is it's very good at all those things.
Well,
the
like
thing
you said,
that we're trying to figure out now is how do we make it work in a management context to help managers make the correct decisions and give people the correct support at the correct time.
It's like you said, it's a tool in the toolbox, and it's not the universal tool, but it is a tool that's very valuable. And it's no matter what, people still want to talk to people. And so maybe it'll help you with all your back office things and all those things. But ultimately, when you stand in front of the client, you're exposed bare, because it doesn't matter what that report says. You better be able to communicate that, and it better be right?
This is exactly it. And I think that this is where I think the market as a whole is going more and more. Like I sort of see this transfer of, hey, everything's online and everything is, kind of at arm's length in a strange way in that way. Everything moving more towards like community-based, like being in front of people, like physically. I'm seeing this transition happen, and I think it's sort of like inevitable. And I think it's due to the erosion of trust, right? Because all of these systems, like AI-based content, et cetera, like is basically eroding trust. Everybody sounds the same, right? Yep. Because they're marketing, they're reading off a script that AI made. Well, AI is going to make scripts, even if you load it up with your own stuff. It's going to make it fairly similar to whatever the other prompt that the other person said, because they said the exact same thing to the AI. Like, hey, here's my business. This is my ideal client. This is their pain points. It's like, well, if me and you have the same ideal client profile, it's the same pain points. So everybody ends up sounding the same because everybody's reading off of a script that AI made.
The same thing.
This is leading to like a massive erosion of trust.
So I'm curious, do you think the pendulum is going to swing back the other way?
Yeah. I'm not a fortune teller, so like my predictions can be fully wrong.
No. I'm just curious because I kind of feel the same way.
You seem like you could be a fortune teller. Go ahead. A wise one.
I think the social platforms will be forced into a position where you can either pay money to them, like as a business or content creator, where like a real human or like their algorithm, knowing them, will basically verify the fact that your content that you're putting out is human, like meaning it's not an AI person, and it'll almost be like a badge that you can buy where it's like everything gets manual checked for like human authenticity. Because at some point, like this AI slop, as they call it, is just going to become such a high volume that people are going to be like, is this real? Isn't it real? And I think we're kind of there, because there's so many times where people are like, I saw this video and it was AI and I didn't know it was AI. Mm-hmm. Right.
I thought I read somewhere where they're trying to do something where they put like a watermark, like it has to have before you look at it, hey, this is all made up, or this is a real person, which again, somebody's always going to skirt that, but it would be nice that the majority of this stuff you could know one way or the other. It's like eating fake meat or real meat, right? I mean, you don't want to eat the fake stuff.
I think the meta, in meta, you can tag your content as AI generated, but in as far as I can tell, it's like when you're posting, it says like, is this AI? And you click a box and you say, yes, this is AI, and you upload it. It's not like they're tagging it of their own volition. And if they are, right, I could be wrong about that. But I think that as more of this content comes out, there's just going to be this erosion of trust, and people just want to do, like, I think fundamentally business is easy in the sense of like people want to do business with people 100%. That they trust. And I think that trust is at an all-time low. I think that this is where people's like personal brands matter. Like, I don't care if you're like an entrepreneur in manufacturing, like, I don't care. They want to hear from the CEO. Like, people want to know that there's like a real human working there that is leading other real humans. Like, that's what they want, right? To build some form of connection. And then being able to see that person in real life afterwards, I think is like the most important thing right now.
Yeah, I think the AI translating what you see is kind of like the political writers. Like, it's what they're really saying is not really what they're telling you in the speech. It's something totally different, and it sounds so great, but it means nothing. And same with some of this AI stuff. So question here is, as you're doing your thing as a potential customer that wants to use your services, what is the thing that you bring to the table that gets the client, again, off the dime and becoming the company they're destined to be and they so desperately want? How long does it take your team to go in and help a customer get? I mean, I know it varies on different things, but what's an average? Like, if somebody hires you tomorrow, is that like a 5-year project? Is it a 6-month project? What's a normal turnaround time?
Yeah, I mean, like generally the best clients that I have, like at agency acquisition specifically, are generally working with me anywhere between like a year to year and a half. Like I do have engagements that are 4 to 6 months as well, but what I've seen time and time again is that there's a process to these things, and like really what I'm doing is one of two things that like, in my opinion, the thing that I've seen is that prepping a company for sale is the correct process, regardless if you're going to sell it or not.
Correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what do you want to do in the preparing for sale process? You want to standardize everything, right? You want to make everything nice and efficient and scalable so that people can do it well, learn it easily, right? And execute with very little defect. You want to reduce owner dependence, right? Meaning like giving the owner their time back, getting them out of day-to-day delivery, helping them work on the business rather than in the business, right? So if we reduce owner dependency, our multiples are going to be better on sale. We have to build a very robust leadership team, right? So that they can make the decisions and the majority of the day-to-day decisions, and the business can be to some degree sort of self-managing, not all the way, but maybe like 98% of the way there. And these are the pain points that most entrepreneurs have anyway. It's like, I'm killing myself working. I'm working 60 to 80 hours a week. Like I want time back with family. I keep missing my my kids' little league. I want to be more present. Like even if I am present, like I'm still thinking about work. It's like, these are all things because the business is so inextricably tied to you, where you're the superhero of the business. Because if the business gets in trouble, you have to be the one to rescue it at all times. And the process of making it like saleable at a high rate, like at a high multiple, is all about reducing founder dependence, about creating systems that deliver consistently even in the absence of that owner, right? And that's generally what owners want anyway. Once they've built their business to a certain degree, it's like, hey, like I make enough money now, or maybe, there's some margin problems that need to be fixed. But as soon as the margin problems are fixed, like everybody wants a little bit more freedom. It's not that they don't want to work. It's that they want to work on their own terms, and they don't want to feel like they're anchored or like, handcuffed to their desk.
So what could you give our listeners here who are like, oh man, that just stabbed me in the back?
But before you answer that, I'm going to ask you this part. Now, because you have already demonstrated your whole career, you can do a 1-year project in a month, or you can do a 1-year project in 2 years. Tell us about the 1-year project in a month. Give us that version.
Yeah, I think that like my version of this is the fact that generally what happens during these engagements is that we first have to fix people's margin, because I think you said it best in my intro. My methodology is really simple. Make more profit, reinvest a portion of that back into your people, into training. Once those people are better through the training, that means that they're more valuable. You got to pay them more. And all of a sudden, top performers want to work for your business because there's a whole bunch of other top performers running around because you're training everyone, right? And this is what enables you to create a business that is not dependent on you as the owner, or maybe not even dependent on the leadership team in order to run well on a day-to-day basis. And so I think that these things take time. So getting results in terms of like bottom line profit, like that's 2 months, maybe 3 months. The rest of it is reducing the founder dependence, because you have to like think about this. Like some people have built their business for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. It's so tied into them that removing all those connection points, in my opinion, and like, people that do what I do tell you this is a 2 to 3 year process. I think it's a 9 to 12 month process.
That's fantastic.
Well, I think you answered my question in that answer.
There it is. So it's not something that somebody has to go, oh my God, this is a 10-year ordeal. I got to do. It's like, no, if you commit to it, you could have results in a couple months, and you could achieve your goals in probably less than a year, and you'll be a totally different company, totally different entrepreneur. I think that's where it's all at. You have one more
I
big
have
question?
one last question, and I hope it stumps you.
Okay.
What is your end goal?
End game.
So-
End game.
I
End game.
think that for me, I've weirdly already achieved it, I think. And it's a weird thing to say. And this is actually something that I think, struggled with. Financially, I've met my goal, right? I'm now in a position where I have zero consumer debt of any kind, including home. I have sufficient investments that my investments can fully pay for my lifestyle on a day-to-day basis. I'm now working to help others because the prospect of fully retiring, like going and like, just being on a beach, like I think that the beach is attractive because it's rare. Like if it becomes like a daily thing, it would lose its magic to some degree, right? So to me, it's about working with people that are passionate about their business. They're passionate about their people. Like they want to help their employees lead better lives, right? And it's in a strange way. Yes, I do it for profit. Yes, I want to charge what I'm worth. However, the money is not enough anymore. I want to have impact, and how I can have impact and use my God-given gifts is by helping people run their businesses better so that the business runs better. It makes more money instead of, come bonus time, come, employee performance time, we're able to compensate people properly so that they can lead better lives as well. This is my way of giving back in some odd way.
Well, and I think you answered it perfectly without just saying it, but you don't have an end game. You have figured it out, and you are going to keep doing what you're doing in some capacity, in some way, shape, or form for probably the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I'll tell you this right now. This week, like Monday, I think I maybe worked like 2.5 hours, maybe. Tuesday was a bit busier. Wednesday, half day. Friday, probably going to work 4 hours, right? Today, Tuesday, busier days, maybe 9 or 10. It's just kind of how it goes. But I'm definitely not working a full-time job at this point.
That's fantastic. Well, again, you reach the other side when you are doing it for the love of it and you're helping others and you're not driven by the pressure of money and that you're wanting to give back. It's the full circle, and every entrepreneur wants to get there, but it's so freaking hard, right? And if you can get somebody like yourself and your company that can come in and help that entrepreneur achieve that, that's life-changing. So if you got a little plug of how people can get a hold of you, can you plug something in there?
There's a few ways you can get a hold of me. You can type in Nick Averia. So that's NickAvaria into LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram as well under that handle, and even on YouTube. And if you want to get a hold of me and check out my website, it is agencyacquisitions.io.
Nick, you're fantastic. Appreciate you being on the show. Lots of good stuff.
Well, and I can tell our audience that he can pivot quick because our video went out a few times and it's remained out for the most of the podcast, and he didn't miss a beat. So thank you.
Well done.
I appreciate it. I appreciate both of you. Thank you so much for having me. I love the work that you're doing.
I appreciate that. Well, another fantastic edition of the Empowering Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm Glenn Harper.
I'm Julie Smith.